Okay, so veteran free agent safety Jamal Adams reportedly visited the Ravens earlier today in Baltimore. I'm taping this at 4:30 to be exact on Tuesday, May 21st, and I have some thoughts on that reported visit. I'm going to share them with you coming up in this episode, which is brought to you by Light Toast Vodka, which is a Baltimore-based, patent-pending, high alkaline, gluten-free premium vodka with added electrolytes. You can find a store near you by visiting lighttoastvodka.com/find Lightos, or just ask your local liquor store. All that information can be found in the show notes below. And with that, I'm glad you're here. I'm Bobby Trosset, and as always, this is where I bring you Baltimore sports and beyond. Today, we're sticking right here in town. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, former All-Pro, former Pro Bowl safety Jamal Adams was in Baltimore earlier today to visit with the Ravens. If you're not familiar with his game, if you will, here he is. He'll turn 29 in October. Listed as 6'1", 213. Played his college football at LSU. He is a safety. He was drafted in the first round, 6th overall by the New York Jets in 2017, where he spent the beginning of his career, and then the last several have been spent as a member of the Seattle Seahawks. His last first team, or I should say his last second team All-Pro or Pro Bowl selection dates all the way back to 2020, but he is a two-time second team All-Pro. He's a one-time first team All-Pro back in 2019 and a three-time Pro Bowler, again, most recently coming in the 2020 season. So that is Jamal Adams at a glance. Let's dive into specifically what's been Jamal Adams of late, and it hasn't been pretty. He's played just 10 games for the Seahawks over the past 2 years combined, and that's really due to quad and concussion setbacks. As Jonas Schaefer tweeted out, he played mainly as a box safety last year in Seattle, but did not record one sack. He's also been inconsistent, tackling poorly and struggling in coverage, which of course led to Seattle releasing him this past March. He is currently a free agent. He is available on the open market. He is a veteran. He's somebody who has a ton of experience. But as you'll see, let's not mince words here. It has been a steep decline since the 2020 season. The numbers speak for themselves. Unavailability has been a major concern. The consistency or inconsistency has been a concern. There's been some character concern that I'll get to. But look at this. I mean, these are the numbers right now that are Jamal Adams' reality. These last few years in Seattle have been really, really underwhelming. And you'd have to think that they might have some buyer's remorse in terms of how things shook out there, because he balled out. We all know that. He balled out during his time as a New York Jet. One of the game's great safeties. And there's no question that the Ravens are trying to, one, replace the production and the role that Geno Stone filled last year, even though he did come out of nowhere. But on top of that, they're also trying to put their unicorn, a.k.a. number 14, Kyle Hamilton, in the best possible situation so that he can be used as the valuable chess piece that we all know and believe that he is. His versatility is through the roof. His range, his explosiveness, his instincts. He had a 3-sack game last year against the Indianapolis Colts early on in the season. We know what he can do at nickel. We know what he can do in space, right? This guy is a tremendous tackler, somebody who is really developing right before our eyes into an all-pro safety, which he was a year ago in Baltimore in his second full season as a starter in this league, his sophomore year. So he's proven to be all that more. And I think the Ravens are going to try to, clearly they're in the veteran free agent market. We'll see just how serious they are about Jamal Adams. Just because they brought him in for a visit doesn't necessarily mean they're in on him. We all know they brought in Josh Reynolds and Michael Gallup at the wide receiver position, sort of in the middle part of free agency, and neither one of those materialized. They did sign Deontay Hardy, but that was more of a Devin Duvernay replacement from a special teams perspective. So doesn't necessarily mean they're in on him. But at the same time, dating all the way back to 2019, I can remember some pre-trade deadline smoke around the Ravens' reported interest in Jamal Adams. I'm not saying that 5 years later that interest still remains, but we've seen it before and we could see it again that, you know, past interest can sometimes translate to current interest if they think the right fit is here with Jamal. Now, I'm not willing to bet against the Ravens in terms of the chance of what they forecast and potentially foresee as the opportunity for rejuvenation. He is still young, not necessarily in NFL years. Like I said earlier on, he turns 29 this coming October. Durability's been a significant concern, but they could very well see something in Jamal Adams that they didn't feel like was being utilized properly, or he was being utilized properly in Seattle. My gut tells me is, I don't know. Like, I want to believe that this is more of just like a, I don't know, gamemanship type of thing, or doing business, or trying to find some sort of leverage. There are a bunch of other veteran safeties that are out there. We'll get to that list in just a bit. But before we do, the character is something that I first thought of when Jamal's name surfaced. Okay, things did not end well for him in New York. Checking in with some of my Jets people that I trust, there was a lot of dysfunction. He was referred to as a locker room cancer. He was referred to somebody who was really just a downright jerk and fake with the media, is what one person from the Jet side of things described him as. But here's my tweet on the right-hand side, and you might remember this. Connor Hughes, who covers the Jets and Giants up in New York, great reporter. Last year in December, when Jamal gave up a touchdown to Dallas in coverage, Connor quote tweeted that highlight. Didn't tag Jamal, didn't use his name, nothing. And all he wrote was yikes. He wrote yikes in the quote tweet. Well, Jamal takes it a step further, finds a photo of Connor and his wife, quote tweets with that photo and says, yikes, hashtag Prez with a smiley face. Or I can't even tell what this emoji is. What is it? Oh, like a sick face. As if to say that Connor's wife is ugly or something. Essentially demeaning, right? Demeaning Connor's wife, which is just disgusting. I mean, you talk about making it personal. Connor indirectly tweets you and you can't handle a little bit of criticism. I'm sorry. Like, just because I said this is the first thing that comes to mind, I got some pushback on this. Just because I said it was the first thing that came to mind doesn't mean that it's the only thing that comes to mind with Jamal Adams. But given his recent unavailability, which I've cited, given some of the inconsistent play, which I've also cited, and the questionable character that isn't just an isolated incident, I am surprised the Ravens have interest, which brings you to what I thought was a good tweet here from Tony Lombardi from RussellStreetReport.com, right? A bunch of different options he was brainstorming are the following. One, potentially a chess move for Eric DaCosta to get another safety that they're interested in to make up his mind. Or two, it's a favor for an agent. You never know. Or three, he's a potential dime inside linebacker, as a friend suggested. And I saw that conversation, that discourse happening on Twitter or X earlier today about the versatility of using Jamal in that kind of role, which I'm sure could be an option. Maybe some help for Trenton Simpson. You never know. But my gut tells me to hope. Well, my gut doesn't tell me. My gut is saying I hope that it's one, because there's a lot of other intriguing names that are out there and available on the veteran market. Now, this list is put together in order of last year's average annual value. and Jamal is at the top. He's not getting anywhere near that number. At least he's not in Baltimore. I can tell you that for damn sure. They just don't have that kind of coin at this point. 17.645 average annual value a year ago for Jamal Adams. Justin Simmons is on this list, also pretty expensive from a year ago at 15.2 and change. Eddie Jackson, Quandre Diggs, Micah Hyde, Tracy Walker, Marcus May. Okay. Anybody on this list, just to name a few, anybody on this list, let me know in the live chat which one intrigues you, which name intrigues you the most on this list. What's most realistic? Probably more towards the middle part, even though who knows? You never know. Jamal could be like, look, I haven't played on, well, Seattle's a winning organization, but he hasn't gotten close to a deep playoff run in his entire NFL career so far. You never know. He might be willing to take less to go chase a championship next fall. I don't know. I can't speak for him. But what I do know is that there are some intriguing names on this list that might be willing, not, well, willing is the right. They might have to. They might be forced to sign with teams for less than what they feel like they are worth at this point in their careers. I'm really thinking that it's a matter of when, not if, the Ravens bring in a veteran. Again, they did this with the wide receiver position earlier on this offseason. Ended up settling on Deontay Hardy just for a special team standpoint. You never know. They could be bringing in 2 more vets before all is said and done right now, right? Could be a veteran wide receiver to round out their wideout room. And it could very well be, based on this news and what we all know is definitely true, one to round out their safety room as well. So let me know who you think in the comment section is most intriguing. But I will say this just in summary. I would never bet against the Ravens in terms of their assessment of fit, their assessment of character, even though they haven't been perfect in that department. We all understand that. We get that. I don't need to reiterate that. We all understand that. But there were similar, not similar, but in the same ballpark types of concerns from some, myself included, about Odell Beckham Jr. a year ago in terms of the fit from a lifestyle standpoint, a fit living in Baltimore, right? A mid-sized media market. I had some questions about that. And OBJ proved me wrong, and I was happy that he did. Now, from a production standpoint, he obviously did not meet expectations, obviously, in particular, given the lucrative contract that he signed. But could this be a similar type of mindset that the Ravens are going to go after somebody who perhaps has done some self-reflection, perhaps feels like he has a lot more to give, and perhaps after waiting out this entire free agency process has been humbled a little bit, right, and is willing to not only sign for a manageable number that Eric DeCosta's front office would be able to accommodate, but is also fully focused on being a champion and working towards being a champion both on and off the field, because some of his recent conduct, some of his recent play has been anything but. So keep that in mind as this process goes along. Again, I would have to think it's probably when, not if, the Ravens are going to be in that market trying to bring in somebody to round out their safety room. So with that, I appreciate you guys for dropping by the channel. If you haven't already done so, please like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the Bobby Baltimore YouTube channel for daily Ravens short form content if you don't already. And a shout out to a couple of my newest, I should say returning, a couple of my returning patrons. Big Fesh 927, Eileen Nolan. Thank you both for believing in what I'm building here in Baltimore and beyond. I appreciate you for signing up for my monthly shout out tier on Patreon. And if you guys are interested in doing the same, visit patreon.com/Bobby Trosset. So thanks to Lightos Vodka for sponsoring this episode. I'll talk to you guys soon. I appreciate you for joining me on this one here inside the channel.